Well, my friend, we are live on the Facebook. Ladies and gentlemen, LabCoatAgents, welcome back to another episode, webinar of State of the Month with the National Real Estate Post. And today we're in for a treat because we got the better half, or is it maybe the worse half of the NREP partnership. Mr. Frank Garay here to join us. Welcome, my man. And let me just quickly summarize a couple of the things we're going to talk about today. So the last couple of webinars, we talked about this dirty E word called the election. And I'd be happy if we didn't use that word again in this webinar because I'm so over it, like I think most people are. So today we're going to talk about some of the results that might be coming, like the like the potential shutdown. Can the industry handle it? We're going to talk about what Lawrence Yun just talked about. NAR, is the market too hot? Can it sustain? And I think also it's interesting to point out, and maybe we can mention it, is the fact, the data that half of mortgages that are out there right now are under 4%. So Frank, welcome. Glad to have you. Glad to have a different face this week. Where do you want to start, my friend?
Geez, I don't know. Let's start with that. What was the first thing you mentioned? I kind of like that. Let's start with that.
Can the industry handle a shutdown?
You know, that's a good one. So, you know, there's speculation that with the new administration that, you know, Mr. Biden, you know, he might want to, the number one thing on their agenda to deal with is, number one, is COVID, right? That's the first thing that they want to try and deal with. And the second thing is on their agenda, in all honesty, is the Cfpb, believe it or not. So that should just, you know, ring the alarms for all of us in the mortgage and real estate industry. Not that just because, you know, we certainly need good regulation. We certainly do. But we may go back to the, you know, Richard Cordroy era, which was, you know, rule with an iron fist, right? Just really just obliterate the mortgage industry, just to, you know, teach them a lesson, by golly. And so that's what we do have to kind of worry about. But so with Biden coming in, you know, they said the first thing they want to attack is COVID. And the rumor, you know, the rumor mill out there is that one of the things that they could be looking at is doing a hard shutdown of the entire country for, you know, 4 to 6 weeks, right? So, you know, not just your individual states saying this can be open, that can be open, or, you know, barbershops, you know, as long as you got things, you know, or whatever. No, they're talking everybody stay home, right? Unless you're absolutely essential, you know, firefighters, that type of thing. But otherwise, you are home, right? 4 to 6 weeks. Can we sustain something like that? You know, can the country sustain something like that? And, you know, I don't think, you know, Jeff, you or I, we don't have the answers to that. I don't know. I think that is something, though, if you guys want to chat a little bit and give us your thoughts on that, that would be good to do right now. But I think that we have to be prepared for that possibility happening. And if it does, you know, it's certainly going to have a pretty negative impact on a lot. We've already got, you know, we're seeing forbearances become less and less people applying for them, which is good, right? Less and less people applying for forbearances. But a lot of the old forbearances that were laid out there some of them are turning into, you know, 60-day lates and beyond, where they were supposed to be getting out of this forbearance, and now it looks like they're going to have trouble even doing that because a lot of people simply aren't making it back to work yet, or for whatever the case may be. So this could cause a glutton of, you know, potential foreclosures again. And overall, when it comes to the foreclosure numbers, it's still extremely low, right? If we're going to compare it to like the last financial crisis we had where everybody was in foreclosure, right? Compared to that, you know, it's still very small, but it is a lot. You know, it is millions and millions of people. So, you know, it could, I guess, to sum it up, I mean, if we have that shutdown, yeah, it's definitely going to have a problem for us on sales. I don't know, Jeff, you originate still, don't you, or not? I don't know.
No, I don't.
Oh, okay. Well, I'm sure some of the guys in your shop have experienced, because I know I sell real estate a little bit on the side, very part-time, just so you guys know. We don't actually go out and market, my wife and I, it's just family friends if it happens to come our way. But we've had, you know, there's definitely been deals, I'm sure that in your shop, Jeff, you can attest to this, as we were ramping into COVID and all this stuff, you know, where people were like having to kill deals because, oh, suddenly I don't work now. Oh, suddenly I'm furloughed. You know what I mean? And deals were getting killed left and right. Well, if there's a mandatory 4 to 6 week shutdown, that's going to kill deals. I mean, it's going to kill deals because, underwriting and, underwriters can't be sure of what's going to happen. If there's that type of a shutdown, they just have to kill the deal. So I think that's important to know and to be on the lookout for. If we see that coming, hustle and get these deals done.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Get people in, you know what I mean? But if that does indeed come out, then, be on the lookout and beware. This might be a problem for whatever deals you have in the pipeline at that time. Any of your clients could be subject to an issue.
So Brad had a question, wanted to know if you know of any data that what the foreclosure trends are looking like right now. And I think what I would like to know more specifically, because you mentioned that the applications for forbearance are down, but as we all know, the forbearance was like, going to take them through a certain period of time. But then we knew that all of a sudden we're going to hit that wall. And are these people going to be able to start paying their mortgage again? Or is that going to all of a sudden spike up the foreclosures? Have any insight on that specifically?
Yeah, I mean, we did a show. In fact, I'm going to share my screen if that's cool.
Yeah.
Because I'll show you the right show to go look at for more information on it. Let me just go here. This is the homepage of the National Real Estate Post. I'm just going to go to NREP Daily here, and which kind of just shows our shows. And this was it: forbearance, foreclosure, more inventory. So this is a good show to watch on that. And so, yeah, the numbers for foreclosures are increasing. I don't off the top of my head, I don't remember the percentages, and it wasn't staggering compared to like it was in the past, right? That's why I want to make that point. But comparing it to what's happened year over year, month over month, recent comparisons, it's moving up. So the severe delinquencies are definitely spiking compared to what they were in the past. So what was it? I can't remember. What was he asking again?
I was just really wanting to know what the trends are looking like right now. If there's any data that you
there is. And this would be the show. This would be the show to check out because that's what the show is indeed about. So again, if you just go to the nationalrealestatepost.com, hit on NREP Daily, go down here, forbearance, foreclosure, more inventory. That's what that show is specifically about. We get into that in some detail. But at the end of the day, yeah, it looks like you're seeing more foreclosures, hitting the streets. But even then, I was talking to Barry Habib. He's our local best friend guru in the world.
Mm-hmm.
And he's a very, very, very intelligent guy. He's really got his finger on the pulse of this, more so than us, even, I would say. But he's saying that even if you do have 60, 90-day lates, most people, and he is right, most people still have equity in their house, right? Most people have a notable amount of equity in their home.
Yes.
Saleable amount of equity, right? So most people who find themselves in this position would be in a position to hopefully be able to do something about it to rectify it, whatever that might be. Now, a lot of these forbearances are being rolled over into modifications is what's winding up happening, right? So because the forbearance says, well, you're going to build up this debt, it's got to get paid back. These payments got to get paid, right? So some of them are moving it to the end of the loan or whatever. That's still a modification of sorts, right? So some of these later foreclosures or these more delinquent pre-foreclosures that we're seeing today will convert out, right? But some of them, for sure are going to result in people having to sell. So that's why on this particular show, we made note that in your marketing as a real estate agent, if you do consider, consistent marketing in some way, to gently approach the matter of, hey, if you're struggling, if you need some help, I might be able to help you out, that kind of a thing, because most people do have enough equity in their home to be able to sell it and make money. Yeah.
And I think I want to point out that Brian and I have talked about this on several shows in the past, and I'm just going to quickly summarize it for those of you that didn't hear that. What Frank is kind of alluding to here is there is an opportunity for you as a real estate agent to be reaching out to your past database or creating marketing that is reaching out to those people that might be in forbearance, that might be heading to that path of foreclosure and trying to head it off. In other words, try to get to them before they go late and hurt their credit and educate them as to why selling might be the best avenue right now. The equity would probably never be stronger, at least anytime soon, right? And so selling right now, saving your credit, go rent for a year or two until you get back on your feet and then come back to buy again. So you as a real estate agent now have two opportunities. sell, and then you're educating them, you're teaching them, you're saving them literally, because if they get into the delinquency, if they get into foreclosure, they're screwing themselves for buying for potentially 7 years or longer.
Yeah.
So it's a hell of an opportunity. Just if nothing else, just use it as an excuse to reach out to all of your past database, see how they're doing, and see if it sparks any conversations about struggles and how you can help them. So
yeah,
good
that
stuff.
would be that point. What else do we have on the list to chat about?
Let's talk about what NAR's president came out and said today.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I'll share my screen again. So I saw this today. I thought, this is interesting. Let's see here. So yeah, so here we go. This is again just on the home. One of the nice things about the National Real Estate Post, guys, if you're not subscribed or have our mobile app, is what you should have. Is that we've got news every single day. But if you just go to the homepage, even in the morning, just go to the nationalrealestatepost.com just to see, not for just our show, which of course we encourage you to watch our show, but outside of that, just all around the whole page is just news feeds from various real estate and mortgage news sources that are all really, really good. And so here, Housing Wire is one of our favorites. And down here, I was looking at it and I go, NAR's Yoon, that's their economist, says median home price rising much too fast. And so here's the article, and I highlighted the part that struck out to me. As home prices increase both too quickly and too significantly, first-time buyers will increasingly face difficulty in coming up with the down payment, Yoon said, right? So that's something for us to make note of. And then just so we understand what the median price is, because a lot of people get that confused. It's not the average, right? So if you have a median price of 100,000, just so you know, that means half the homes that, let's say in Vacaville, California, the median price was 100,000 last month. That would mean that half the homes sold for above 100,000 and half the homes sold below 100,000. So let's say if there was 100 homes that sold, 50 of them were above 100, 50 of them were below 100. So the median is 100,000. So that's how the median sales price works. So if the median sales price is rising, what that means, guys, is that the homes in the higher price ranges are selling more. So it's pulling the median up is essentially what's happening. Or if you had homes that the lower homes, the more affordable homes are selling a lot, it would pull the median down because they're selling more than the upper. So right now, Yoon is saying, man, this median price is kind of running away, which means it's basically, he's saying it's going to make it more difficult for first timers or entry level people to buy because the lower homes kind of get dragged up with that, right? Everything kind of goes up from that point. So, and then we wanted to understand, well, why is this happening? Why is the median price going up? And so I found this article that's also on the National Real Estate Post. It was here, why the housing market boom might not last. And so I tuned into that. And basically, this guy is saying this. He says there's a big boom, right? Can it go on? And he brings up, he says, what this points to is that is a market that's driven by affluent existing homeowners who've kept their jobs through the pandemic and are able to take advantage of the low rent environment to upgrade their home or move to the suburbs, right? So what we're seeing here is and he even goes on to say the market needs more participation from the entry level under 35 demographic. So this goes hand in hand with what Yoon was saying, where what's happening right now is you do have some more affluent households in the country who really job-wise didn't necessarily get affected by the pandemic. And so, what that has done, we already know the pandemic has definitely helped to cause home prices to rise, simply because people aren't selling, less inventory, there's pent-up demand, right? So home prices are going up. Apparently, it's more of the affluent homes dragging up the median price, right? So that's essentially what's happening here. So now, you put your realtor hat on, you know what I mean? And it looks like, okay, maybe these affluent guys are the guys that I need to really pursue here. And I would say there's certainly some validity in looking at it that way, right? But to question if this can continue or if this is going to burn out, right? That's what this guy is questioning in here. And of course, nobody has the answer, right? I mean, everybody can speculate, but the thing that that I think I wanted to bring up with this, Jeff, is that, can the boom continue to go? Again, I'm going to lean on my buddy Barry, and he says the part that the media misses is if you just go by the data, the numbers that come out, it can certainly paint a picture, but sometimes there's things beneath the data that aren't being looked at that are also driving forces in a market. And what he has brought up time and time again is that there was a very significant birth rate, okay, about 30, 40 years ago, right, in the country. And people were being born just like a lot more than normal back then, all right? And so what that means is today, all these people are, 30, 40 years old, they're late 20s to early 40s. In this age demographic, there's just more people. There's just more human beings in the United States because there was a much higher birth rate. So when you have just more people of this age forming households, you just got more bodies. So on the one hand, we can look at, low inventory, not a lot of homes. Certainly that's going to make whatever demand there is seem like more, right? Just because there's less inventory. So whatever the demand is, it feels like it's a lot more, right? Then you put on top of that, though, there's just more people. There's just more people looking to buy. So can the boom last? I don't know if we could say that the boom, like these explosive appreciation rates, are going to last. But if we consult with some pretty smart people out there, Barry being one of them, his opinion is that a nice steady appreciation on home values probably will last for many years going forward. You might not see 12% appreciation, but you might see 5, 4, that type of a thing. So I guess overall, I think we're in the real estate and mortgage industry. I think we've got another couple of years ahead of us, at least a couple of years ahead of us of an environment and a market that's well for us to work in. If you've got the gumption to do the work, there's opportunity for us, going over the next couple of years.
Yeah.
And it's just a matter of finding the right little sweet spot, whatever that might be, whether it's a niche product, a niche neighborhood, a niche, whatever it may be, and to just kind of dominate that stuff, because you should be able to have a pretty good income going forward for the next few years if you work at it, if you work.
This Frank reminds me of how times were pre 07, 08. And it's like you think of the line where you say volatility leads to instability, but in our world, volatility leads to riches. It leads to success. And I think those of you who've been in the business as long as you or I have, Frank, need to remember what it was like, and that you can't rest on your laurels. You can't just go out buying the boats and the planes and the cars and the houses. Like, learn from that. And if you weren't in the business back then, trust us when we say this is not going to continue. And even if it does for 2 years, as Frank suggests, like, those that create a sustainable career will focus on what's to come, not what's happening now, because what's happening now is just flowing in. You don't even have to work for it. It's just happening, right?
Yeah.
But those of you who want to continue the success, which you can, you have to be looking out ahead. And whether that's 2 months or 2 years, nobody really knows.
Yeah, I think we often look back at, 05, 06 and compare it here. I mean, it's kind of similar, but not quite, that, right? But when you've got a market where, like you said, where as long as you stick your head up and let people know you're out there and this is what you do, that you can originate some business from, that's an enjoyable market, and we need to take advantage of it. But I guess what I would like to point out is that going forward, the way this looks is that it might not be that stuff's going to fall out of the sky for you, maybe in 2021 and going forward, but you'll have very fertile ground that it's there for you. But you will have to work for it, but it's there. There's going to be plenty of business opportunity there. Rates are projected to continue to stay fairly low, even if right now, people are panicking if rates go to 3 3/4, all the refis are going to go away. Probably will, and the mortgage guys do need to panic about that. They literally do, and they should if they're heavy refi people. Yeah. They're going to have a problem. But with respect to housing and real estate, rates are still, even if they're 4 or under, remarkable. You'll never have any issues with people really qualifying so much, right? That type of a thing. People, who want to move, they'll be like, yeah, okay, I can sell and move because my next house payment's going to be reasonable. I'm not going to have to worry about rates stopping me from that. So I think that you're going to have, decent appreciation rates. Hopefully they cool down a little bit, but they continue to be on a nice rise. All of those things point to fertile ground, for us to work in. As long as we work that ground, you know what I mean? We can eke out some really decent livings, but as far as just kind of kicking back and letting stuff fly through the door, man, that's probably going to start to fade away. If all that makes sense.
I agree. And in the mortgage world, for those of you, and I know there's always some mortgage people that are tuning in, this is where you need to be assessing what is your purchase to refi ratio. Right. And if you're not 60 to 80% purchase, in my opinion, you better start looking in mirrors and figuring out, where am I going? I don't know what's your opinion on that, but I think you need to be 60, 65+% to feel good about the sustainability of your business going forward as a mortgage person. Yeah, well, the just recently the MBA numbers came out, and essentially the mortgage market right now is 70% refinance. That's crazy. And I'm saying you should be 70% purchase. Right. So even in a refi boom. Yeah. Think about that. The entire industry as a whole is 70% refinance. It's crazy. Rates bump up to 3 3/4, something like that. That's going to drop significantly. Yeah. And so everybody's going to be looking around, staring, their jaw hanging open, like, what happened? Well, for real estate, I've done it. I get it. Correct. But for realtors, which and that's who mostly we're talking to here, like, that's a good thing for you guys, because, and I'm with you, because I really can't stand refi booms, because all they do is clog pipelines and create bottlenecks. But and you guys feel the effects, right? Because underwriting turn times are ridiculous, which you've all felt this year. I've had more calls from my realtor friends all over the country saying, "Oh, my mortgage guy sucks." Actually, the entire industry sucks right now. Right. If you want to talk about turn times, but when rates tick up, that's actually good, because we'll get back to some normalcy with your purchases. So, true. Good stuff, brother. Which is a good segue, by the way. Okay, let's go. Good segue to the statistic, and we do have another question from Brad that I want to hit on before we finish. Okay. But the statistic about half of mortgages being under 4%. I mean, that's really crazy. Pretty notable, isn't it? That's crazy. So, and that's where the panic starts to come in, because if half are under 4%, we don't need a very big uptick in mortgage rates to where it becomes senseless to refinance for an individual, right? So then obviously we'd have to shift gears on the refinance side, which I do encourage people to do. Like, when rates do bump up, all the rate and termers out there, the guys that really want to just get the low rate for the low payment, that's going to kind of go away. But even if rates go up to 3 3/4, even 4%, your cash out refinance business could still boom, because people still wind up getting themselves in debt, wind up getting overextended, buying cars, doing things where it's like, man, if I consolidated this all into a mortgage, it would be much less, and I could write off some interest and that kind of thing. So I think that business is still going to be, fairly sustainable for you for a while, but it'll be a lot less than what you're experiencing. But all mortgages being under 4% links us right back to that statistic that 70% of the mortgage industry is, in a refi, is refi right now. So again, this is just a warning, not even a warning. It's just the natural result of what has occurred. And it's just an indicator that should now be ringing the alarm of every loan originator out there saying, I need to look back at my purchase business to see what I got going on. So all the realtors who are watching, you may have already experienced some of these guys coming back around who you haven't seen in a while, saying, hey, how's it going? How you doing? But I think a lot of you guys probably work with originators that are good, who have been there for you, even through this, doing their best to try and keep everything afloat. I know I've talked to several originators who are like that. I interviewed Kimber. Oh, we were talking about the shutdown. That was an interview I did with Kimber White, the president of the National Associations of Mortgage Brokers. He's a 30-year mortgage broker, and he's a 60-40 purchase to refi ratio in his shop. And he says he always has been. He's focused very hard on making sure that the real estate agents are taken care of and those purchase deals are taken care of. So it's time. I would say it's time. If you're an originator and you're listening, if
now's the time.
Yeah,
don't
100%.
don't say someone didn't tell you so, because we're telling you so right now. Now's the time, and for the real estate agents that are out there, I would say that, if you've got an originator who has been faithful to stick with you through all this and make sure your deals are getting done promptly and on time and all that, good for you and good for that relationship, and make sure you stick with those guys. Because it was hard on them. Yeah, they were getting filthy rich, don't get me wrong, but it was hard on them to try and juggle all that stuff. And everybody knows how stressful this business can be. It's getting things done on time, making sure things go smoothly. It can be a real stressful industry.
That's right. You know what, Frank, and before we get to this question, I just want to mention too, the reason why we partnered with the National Real Estate Post, as Frank showed you, was because of all of the good content that they share, which is different than what LabCoats is. It's a lot different, actually. They're very much more in like what's happening in the industry, which is useful. And it's like the Wall Street Journal of what this is. Like LabCoatAgents is the Facebook. What NREP is the Wall Street Journal, in my opinion. I just totally made that up, by the way.
Yeah.
Frank, you do a much better job of sharing that stuff than Brian does, but it's a good plug. And it reminded me, for those of you who are on here who are lab coders, to check that out. Like favorite that, like put the app on your phone, favorite it on your internet browser, because I use it. I just reference it. And honestly, Frank, I will tell you, I use it for content. Like I'll be like, ooh, I'm hurting for some mortgage content or real estate content. I'm going to go to the NREP page and watch one of their interviews. Bam! I just created. I go repurpose it. Done.
That's what we do. We typically go to our own page to figure out what we're going to talk about, and then we talk about it. Yeah, so I mean, that's what it's for. That's why we put it together that way.
It's awesome. It's awesome. Yeah. So Brad wants to go back to, or actually he didn't go back. He asked this question a few minutes ago about, do you think that the solutions on the forbearance are going to stay on the state level, or do you think there's going to be any federal overriding on guidelines, or the on a national level, they're going to step in and try to alleviate?
I definitely, with a Biden administration, that would be something that would be definitely on the table. I think they're going to get very, very involved in this stuff. The second item on their list of things to deal with is the CFPB. Number two, like for the whole administration, number one, fix COVID. Number two, we want to fix the CFPB. I think they said restore was their word, restore the CFPB. So how does that parlay into the question? I think that the federal government is just going to get more involved. So is it a possibility? Absolutely, it's a possibility. Especially if they do a mandatory, shutdown of the entire country for six weeks, something like that. It's definitely a possibility. So yeah, I mean, I haven't seen anything, that says that verbatim, but it's for sure, man. Absolutely, something like that.
Do you think that means? I know this is just you guessing here, but you're obviously in the know more than most. What is your opinion on what they might do? Do you think that they will extend it? Do you think they'll give more forgiveness? What do you think will happen?
Yes, I think that's what they'll have to do. I mean, especially if they're planning on doing another big shutdown, they're going to have to find a way to, find some money, print more money, whatever they're going to do, right, to offer more assistance, right, in these scenarios, and they'll find a way to try and help those who are really struggling. And you know what, I'm in agreement with it. You got to, it's not any of our faults that any of this happened. We have to find a way to try and keep people whole, so yeah, I'm very, very curious to see what happens if it ever officially gets it's a Biden administration, dang it, you know what I mean? Yeah. I'm very, very curious to see what they do. You know what I mean? Because they obviously feel that the Trump administration did everything wrong, right? So, well, let's see what they're going to do. Let's see what they've got on the agenda. Let's see how they're going to step in and help all this out. Let's see how they're going to fix COVID, and shore up the economy and do all that stuff at the same time. Very good question. I don't know. We'll see what happens.
Yeah. Good stuff, brother. That's I've got. If you have any parting thoughts, I've got nothing else to cover today.
I don't think so. I think that the one parting thought I would say is that I do stick to what I said, which is I think we're going to have, no matter what happens with the administration, no matter what happens going forward. I think that based on what I know from everything, all the people I know that I talk to, and everything that me and Brian go through every single day to produce the show, I think we're going to have some fertile ground for a while, to whether you're mortgage or real estate. If anybody's feeling like they've got it easy right now, whoever that might be, whether it's a real estate person or a mortgage person, that could change. It might not be so easy over the next year or two, but it'll still be there. The business will still be there. We just have to dig it up. We just got to go out there and dig it up.
Love it, man. I love it. That's a great segue, by the way, into a future show. Maybe in 2 weeks, we can talk about some of the tools that both real estate agents and loan officers could be using to be doing what we're basically subtly or not so subtly hinting, that you need to stop just sitting back and waiting for the business and start going out and getting it. So maybe we could talk about that in the next couple of weeks, and talk about some of those, the listing boosters and the real estate masteries and all these tools that they could be using, that they need to be now digging into to figure out how they can.
It's a lot easier to dig a ditch with a shovel, you know what I mean, than with your hands. So it's nice to have tools that make things a little easier. And both of those are great examples. So
I love it, man.
Awesome, man. Well, this was fun.
Yes, it was. Thank you guys for being on today. I was just glancing at Brad to see what he was. He just gave us a suggestion for another topic as well. So I appreciate that, Brad. Thank you for engaging today. Thank you for those of you that were on today. Thank you to the LabCoat world, the Zoom world. We will see you all in a couple of weeks. My guess is Brian will be back, but maybe Frank will surprise us again.
We'll see. We'll see what happens, man. I'm happy to step in anytime because I find it fun.
I love it, brother.
All right, you guys.
Talk soon.
See y'all later.
Bye.